The first time I realized my husband was lying to me was when I found the gun under our bed. The second time was when I overheard him speaking Russian in the kitchen at 3 in the morning. By then, I should have left. Anyone sane would have. But love makes you reckless, and mine was the kind of love that burned through reason. Ethan and I had been married for 6 months, tucked into a small town in Virginia where no one asked too many questions. I worked as a freelance journalist, typing away in our sunlit living room, while he claimed to be running security consultations for local businesses. He was steady, dependably at least on the surface. The kind of man who fixed the faucet before it leaked, who never forgot the trash on Tuesdays, who brushed his teeth with military precision. But beneath that steady facade was something else, something sharp, shadowed, and dangerous. I wasn't supposed to know. And maybe if I hadn't loved him so much, I wouldn't have noticed the cracks. One night, I caught him staring out the window long after midnight, his hands gripping the sill like he was bracing for impact. When I whispered his name, he blinked as if waking from a nightmare, muttered something about not being able to sleep, and pulled me into bed. He kissed me so hard it felt like an apology. I didn't press him. Not then. But then came the phone call, short-coded, urgent. The way he disappeared for hours with no explanation. The faint smell of gunpowder that clung to his clothes. And then, the worst of it, the night I almost lost him. It was raining hard, the kind of storm that made our little house creak. I was working late on a story, headphones in, when I heard the front door slam. Ethan stumbled inside, soaked to the bone, his knuckles split open, blood trailing down his arm. His eyes found mine, wide with panic. "Don't ask," he whispered, before collapsing into my arms. I didn't sleep that night. I sat beside him, watching his chest rise and fall, every beat a reminder that I didn't know who my husband really was. The next morning, I tried to confront him. "Ethan, I need the truth. Whatever you're hiding gets tearing us apart." He looked at me, jaw clenched, like he was standing on the edge of a cliff. For a moment, I thought he might actually tell me. But then his lips curved into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You're imagining things. I promise." Gaslighting. That was the word for it. And yet I stayed. Because when he touched Muhen, his hand brushed mine at breakfast. When he kissed my neck in the dark, it was like gravity itself shifted. He was my center of the universe. Even if that universe was collapsing. But everything came crashing down one ordinary afternoon. I was walking back from the grocery store when I saw him across the street, pressed against an alley wall, speaking urgently to a man I didn't recognize. The stranger handed him a thick envelope. Ethan's expression was grim, dangerous, the expression of a man who belonged in another world entirely. I froze, hidden in the shadow of a tree. When he turned, our eyes met. For a split second, time stopped. His lips parted, shock etched across his face. And then, without a word, he walked away. That night, he didn't come home. I spent hours pacing the living room, staring at the gun I'd pulled from under our bed, trying to convince myself I wasn't in love with a stranger. But every memory, our wedding vows, his laugh, the warmth of his hand in mine screamed otherwise. At 3 a.m., the phone rang. A low, distorted voice rasped, "If you want him alive, stop digging. Some secrets should stay buried." The line went dead. My heart nearly stopped. And in that moment, I understood. Ethan wasn't just hiding from me. He was hiding from something far bigger, far deadlier. And now, whether I wanted it or not, I was part of it. The next morning, I drove to the only place I knew he might goth old shooting range 10 miles outside town. He'd taken me there once, teaching me how to steady my hand, how to breathe before pulling the trigger. And there he was, standing in the rain, firing bullet after bullet into a paper target. His shirt clung to him, soaked through, his face a storm of guilt and fury. "Ethan!" I shouted. He froze, lowering the gun. His eyes softened the moment he saw me, but his shoulders sagged with exhaustion. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice breaking. "Then tell me why. Tell me why strangers are threatening me on the phone. Tell me why you keep bleeding in the middle of the night. Tell me why I keep finding pieces of a man I don't know." For a long moment he said nothing, just stared at me, like he was memorizing my face. Then he dropped the gun, the metal clattering against the wet concrete. I was FBI, he confessed. Counterintelligence. I spent years chasing ghosts, infiltrating networks, playing a game where one mistake meant death. I got outer, I thought I did. But they don't let you go. Not really. And now, they're coming for me. For us. My stomach lurched. It should have broken me. It should have sent me running. But instead, I stepped closer, rain soaking us both. You married me, I whispered. That means you don't fight this alone. His eyes shone, wet not just from the storm. He reached for me, and for the first time he didn't hold back. His lips crashed against mine, desperate, trembling, alive. It wasn't a kiss of passion, it was survival. It was a promise. And as thunder rolled across the sky, I knew, whatever danger was coming, we would face it together. I never imagined the final confrontation would take place in a church. It was abandoned, windows shattered, rain dripping through the roof, pews rotting with mildew. Yet somehow it felt fitting. Sacred ground for a war that had followed Ethan for years. We had been hunted for weeks, relentless phone calls, cars trailing us at night, shadows in every window. My world had shrunk to motel rooms and whispers, to clutching Ethan's hand in the dark, unsure if morning would come. But here, at last, was the end. The men who wanted him dead surrounded us, their faces cold, weapons drawn. And Ethan, standing before me like a shield, looked every bit the man I had always known. He was not just my husband, not just the broken agent who carried secrets like scars, but someone who had chosen love in a world that wanted him to surrender to fear. Run, he whispered to me. I'm not leaving you, I whispered back, my voice steadier than I felt. The leader stepped forward. You should have stayed quiet, Agent Hale. But love makes men stupid. His eyes flicked to me with contempt, like I was nothing but collateral damage. Something inside me snapped. For months, I had been dragged into Ethan's past, forced into a shadow war I hadn't signed up for. But standing there, shoulder to shoulder with him, I realized I wasn't a victim anymore. I was his partner, his equal. Funny thing about love, I said, lifting my chin. It's the only reason you're not winning tonight. The leader sneered. He raised his gun and then everything blurred. The gunshot cracked, echoing through the church like thunder. For a heartbeat, I thought it was me who had fallen. But it wasn't. Ethan had moved like lightning, disarming him, knocking the weapon across the floor. What followed was chaos, fists, shouts, the crash of wood splintering. I fought too, grabbing the discarded gun, hands trembling but aim steady. My heart pounded, but I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. When it was over, the men were either unconscious or gone. Only the rain remained, dripping steadily into silence. Ethan slumped against the altar, blood staining his shirt. My knees hit the floor as I reached for him. Stay with me, I begged. Please, don't you dare leave me now. His hand found mine, gripping weakly. His voice was ragged, but his eyes were alive. I chose you, he whispered. No matter how dark it gets, I'll always choose you. Tears blurred my vision, falling onto his skin. Then we'll find the light together. The weeks after felt like living in slow motion. Ethan's wounds healed, but the scars went deeper. The bureau took statements, covered the mess, and offered him a way back in. He refused. He was done living in the shadows. We moved to the coast, to a weathered house with wide windows and a porch that smelled like salt. It wasn't safe forever, nothing ever ispit, it was ours. For the first time in months, we woke to the sound of waves instead of gunfire. For the first time, we were free. One evening, the sun dipped low, painting the horizon gold. Ethan and I sat on the porch, shoulders pressed together, silence wrapping us in warmth. I reached for his hand, threading my fingers through his. Do you ever regret it? I asked softly. Marrying you? He turned, smiling with a tenderness that melted every fear I'd ever carried. Never. If anything, it's the only thing that saved me. I leaned into him, closing my eyes. Then promise me something. Anything. When the world comes knocking again and it will, you don't push me away. We face it together. His hand tightened around mine. That's not a promise. That's a vow. The ocean roared, steady and endless, like a witness to our words. And in that moment, I knew we had survived more than just danger. We had survived doubt, fear, and the weight of secrets. Ethan wasn't just my husband. He was my story, my fight, my forever. And no matter how dark the world tried to be, we had found our light. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.